It's still happy hour with John Gaskins. This round's on me.
And then at the end of that season, Wayne was let go, and then I got the head job at South Dakota State.
Yeah. So how did that courtship start there? This was because it was Wayne Hensel was his name.
Yep.
Wayne Hensel. He resigned. They had fallen on tough times, and this was around early December 1990. So you had that decade where it had been 11 years since you had been at SDSU, and during that time you got to experience national championship at NDSU, the Tulsa years and the Wisconsin years. Was this something when Fred Oyen, the athletic director, approached you that you were particularly interested in?
Well, I had known Fred when I was assistant there, and he was like a student assistant in administration, or anyway, and he had got the AD job, and so I called him after Wayne stepped down, and I said, I'm interested. He said, I kind of expected you to call, or thought you might be calling. And so, went out for an interview, and it ended up being between myself and a guy named Dennis Crehan, who became the head coach at USD a couple of years later. And then, so in 1990, we moved to Brookings and stayed for a few years there.
Stayed for a few years. Head coach from 91 to 96, but I don't know if it was as bad as Wisconsin in relative terms to your competition in the Big Ten, but you encountered some frugalness from the athletic department here and there in trying to run a successful North Central Conference program.
The thing they didn't understand at that time was what a great athletic department can do for a university, and football kind of seems to drive a lot of that interest, and along with basketball and women's basketball, and so we right away confronted things that just shocked the heck out of me. This is just crazy. But the first day, I had one of the assistant coaches go and post things all around the dorms and stuff because we didn't have computers there to call a team meeting.
Yeah.
Well, we get to the team meeting and there's no one there. And it turns out that someone was walking behind him from the athletic department, taking down all the signs because the AD thought it was illegal to meet a team with a team in the off season.
It wasn't, was it?
That's how it started. No,
it wasn't illegal.
Well, you can't talk football, but I mean, imagine starting an organization without being able to get your group together and talk about it. So that was the start of it, and they were tight. Facilities were awful. The locker room, same locker room. I had been there 11 years ago, and it was in awful shape. We had no chance to have an indoor facility. We just didn't have what we needed to.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate. We did have some good players, and some guys that played well. I mean, we were the first team in forever that had 6 straight winning seasons.
Right.
And they had really struggled previous to that, and so we accomplished some things. Biggest thing is we changed, in my mind, the mindset of the players that this is important, and you are going to come to spring ball under Wayne. They could go play tennis or
run track,
all that. Anything to get out of spring ball.
Go to their brothers' state basketball games.
Yeah.
Like Shane Bauman. Todd Bauman.
It was pretty loose operation. And in the defensive Hensel, he truly just treated the players like his kids. He told me once, just before he died, he said, I wouldn't have traded how I did it. He said, I know I was too close to the kids, but I wouldn't have traded that relationship for the 2 games you won more than I did every year. And it was just a very solid statement. But so it just wasn't, the kids, even though they were good athletes, just weren't doing what it took to.
They were just kind of used to winning 3 or 4 games
Yeah.
a year. You wanted to win.
And then we won, and we had some good. We I think in our third year we beat North Dakota State for the first time in 17 years.
Yep.
That year we lost to Montana out there after leading 35-14 at half. Then we beat UND, who went on, and I was a national finalist in the last game of the year. Just kicked them. And so and we had good players. We really did, and good kids. I call them kids, but they're good players. And we had 5 guys from our time there that end up in pro football. So that we did have good players.
Yeah, 6 years, you won 6 or 7 games each and every year, winning record. Correct me if I'm wrong, every year, which again they were not used to up there. But all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, the Mike Daly Show. A, you put your foot down. You wanted football in general to be taken more seriously, and B, in your own words in this book, you if you want to be a bigger operation, you got to act like a bigger operation. So tell me, how did this whole Mike Daly Show come about? How instrumental do you think that was? And you having a weekly TV show, 10:30 on Sunday night, that you recorded Saturday nights after games, to your success, because it was one of the first things you did out of the chute. And as you mentioned, you produced it. You found the money for it. You found the TV station and the anchor, the host, Gary Weckworth, for it. Why was that so important to you?
Well, it's just what everybody did, that programs that I'd been a part of for the last 10 years. You know, Tulsa, Wisconsin, North Dakota State, who was a team that we had to beat.
Yeah.
And we just needed to become a peer of those. We needed to be seen in the same light. And that was one way to very visually do it. And then the first thing I did actually was go to you guys all over the city and ask
the TV stations
if they would produce the show and run it on their stations. Yeah. And they all turned me down, except Kello showed interest in running it if someone else produced it. And so we hired a group called TV Productions up in Brookings, great people. And they were the people that could produce it. And I hired Weckworth as the mount.
Gary had been a TV sports guy, the Kello TV sports guy, for 8 years in Sioux Falls, so he's very popular. He had just gotten out of doing that. I had an interview like this with him last summer, and he just said he could have done that his whole life, but he wanted a new challenge, and he had been kind of an independent contractor for about a year, and he had done a radio show for once a week. He had a few different jobs. But so I asked him today about you, and he just said that you knew what you wanted, you had a vision, knew what you needed to get the show off the ground, as you've been mentioning, and to this day, Gary says it's still so impressive that you, Mike Daly, hired everyone for the show. You sold it. You negotiated the TV time on Kello, and then you negotiated that time on the cable sports network that reached the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And some people are marvel at that you're taking all this time and effort. Was it easy? Was it hard?
It was hard, but
was there any party that's like, I should be spending more time on this or that?
No,
or
it
this
was obvious,
big priority
that you had to do it.
Yeah.
You had to do it, and you just counted on assistants to do things that might make up for time. But I didn't do much with it, very honestly, during the season. It was in the off season where I did the work. Yeah. We lucked out. We had a guy by the name of Wayne Rasmussen. You'll recognize that name probably. He was a pro football player from South Dakota State. He was working with Citibank at the time in Sioux Falls, and he was on the board of Norwest Bank. And he took me door to door to the big operations businesses in town to pitch the show. Okay. And Norwest took it. And so we got our major sponsor through them. Once we got that, then it all fell into place from the standpoint of getting the money to do it. You could probably
tell other potential sponsors, hey, Norwest Bank's sponsoring us. This is a legit thing. And so Gary has told me to ask you, how many times would you have to start and stop segments in the early years? when taping the show? And I guess along the same lines, if doing the TV show is harder than coaching.
Well, one thing, I was kind of a perfectionist. So, it was a tape show, and then we drove it down to Sioux Falls that night and dropped it off at Killow. But we wanted to do it right, and we were willing to just stay there until we got it right.
Yeah.
If I was mumbling or just saying something stupid, or the lights went out or whatever, we just stopped and started again. We just weren't going to put out. We're going to put out the best possible product as we could.
So there was and you're living in the moment, thinking this has to be a good TV show. You're not thinking I'm the freaking head coach. I got a million things to do. We just had a game. There's recruits in town, but this was like top priority because you knew what it could do. I'm guessing for recruiting, right?
You bet.
Yeah.
And
Did you have
it's
fun
all
doing it?
recruiting. It's all recruiting,
Yeah.
and also interest from fan interest.
Yeah.
Which again, if people approach me about it nowadays, fans liked it. They like to watch it.
Yeah.
We did fun. We tried to make it fun. We always opened it with someone saying, "Stay tuned for the Mike Daly Show," and then they do something, then it come on. And I mean, we had Bill Murray do it.
What?
Yeah, we had Daschle do it. We had, we just got huge names. Kicker, I remember the Vikings guy, whenever they would run into someone famous, they'd ask him to say it.
Yeah.
But Bill Murray was the best one.
Bill, did Gary find Bill Murray somewhere to do this?
Yeah, he was running, I think, a minor league baseball team
St.
up
Paul
in
Saints.
St. Paul.
Yeah. Yep.
And they ran into each other associated with that. But Gary was a huge part of making the show, one that some people would want to watch.
He wanted me to ask you how the ratings were.
Oh, shoot. We controlled the time slot.
I bet you did.
Yeah, who was that? Yeah. Rosie O'Donnell or someone we kicked, I remember. So somebody, Sunday night, 10:35.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And so did you immediately start getting feedback? Like we saw the show, like you could start to feel the wave come in?
We did.
Like you sensed the difference that was making for the program?
Yeah, we did get some real good feedback from it. I mean, obviously we got better at it. I look at some of the early shows and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But as the years went on, I think we had a pretty good product.
Okay.
And
you had your recruits from all over the region that said they saw the show?
They would see it because you'd make sure they saw it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it ran between the Jim Wacker show at Minnesota and the Lou Holt show at Notre Dame. We were in the middle of that. So it went boom, 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 half hour,
wow.
on Midwest Sports Channel.
That is something.
And so, yeah, it was good. It was good for the program. And John kept it going for 1 or 2 years. That just wasn't him,
Right.
Priorities different, and totally understood.
It's interesting because I think in his later years, and certainly now in his retirement, he's become pretty good at this now too.
Shoot.
But I can't have a conversation with you without asking about Adam Vinatieri.
You bet.
Since he was there, I mean, I think the first game as head coach, Adam Vinatieri kicked a game-winning field goal for you guys against UNK.
Yeah,
Kearney.
Yeah,
Nebraska
exactly
Kearney.
right. Well, first of all, just going back, he was an athlete. Quote athlete in high school. He's a wrestler. He's a good golfer. He played quarterback. So he wasn't just a kicker or punter. And we recruited. He didn't get recruited by any Division I schools. And really, from my experience in Division I really believed that the kicking game was really important.
Yeah.
And when you only had 38 scholarship, it was tough to put much money into a kicker or punter. But with him, he kicked and punted. Okay. So we could give him more because he was covering 2 positions. And so we gave him a big enough scholarship, and it was the biggest, no question, it is the biggest that any kicker in our league had.
Yeah.
And so we got him.
Yeah.
And when we got him, John, we knew that we had a chance of losing him to Army. and Army, not the Army,
Football.
Football. Because he was waiting to see if he got the appointment or not. And we discussed it. He said, if I get that, I'm going to go. I said, we'll take the risk. I said, but if you do go, we will take you back if you don't like it. But I might not have that 3/4 of a scholarship. I said, we'll have some, but with you not coming, I got to go find another kicker or punter or whatever it was at that time that we needed. And he understood, and then in the middle of the summer got a call from him and said, you still want me? And I said, sure. And he came back, and then it went from there.
Has Jim Heinitz ever told you the story about him recruiting you, Adam?
Yeah.
He told us last summer, Jim did, about how Adam came in an hour or two late, didn't seem too interested in Augustana, and Jim cut the conversation short. He's just like, I don't think you want to come here. I don't think this. Let's just both go our separate ways. So either he had sights on the Army, or he already knew he wanted to play for you at SDSU or whatnot. But
yeah, I don't know what went on there. All I know is we offered him a scholarship. He came, ended up at our place, and is going in the Hall of Fame in a month.
He did okay.
Well,
he was. Is it true that he wasn't that great of a kicker, or was he at SDSU?
Well, he was a little up and down.
Yeah.
He was a better punter than kicker.
That's what I've heard.
Statistically, and he just pounded it. You could just hear it. And he was more inconsistent on the kicking game, on the kick stuff, and to the point, and this that I benched him at one time. He'd missed 3 or 4 extra points and field goals in a row, and I benched him and had an audition of the team and see who had kicked before, and 4 or 5 had, and they came and ended up going with a defensive lineman, I think it was, off of Jim Remy's his name, from Laverne.
Defensive lineman.
Yeah, and he square toe.
Yeah.
And he came in, of course, missed the first 3, and then we put Vinny back in, and then
how
he didn't miss many after that. Oh yeah.
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 Okay.
Probably still is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there any part? But you couldn't. You felt like you had no choice. He was struggling enough. You had to.
Just give someone else a chance. Give him a breather. He still punted.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, any competitor like he is doesn't like to not do his deal.
Yeah. So you, after 6 years at the helm, it's several 6 and 7 win seasons, very successful run, and you're still in your late 40s, I think, and you just decided 6 years as a head coach was enough, 26 years as a coach was enough, and why? Because you probably had a good 20 years left in you.
I did. I never wasn't enamored by the profession as much as some people are, and that's not a negative statement about other people. I always liked to fish and hunt and enjoy life and do other stuff. And then when we had our son, and it's some of what I went through as a young kid not having a dad, he needed a dad. I was raising everybody's kids but my own, and so I just said, I think let's just shut her down and get into something that's a little more sane, something I can spend more time with my family with. Best decision I've ever made. I never look back at it. The fact that people ask me about the administration and that, I always say that, having the administration the way they were and their lack of really interest in getting real good,
raising the money,
doing whatever it took to get to the same level of goals that I had, made my decision easier.
Yeah.
If they are giving us everything and try and give us as much as possible, and I saw that things could get out of the 7-4 to 9-2, it wasn't there after 6 years.
You felt like it had maxed out. You did all you could do.
Yeah. And I had a great booster at this time, and you'll love the name, Dana Dykehouse. He was when I was an assistant defensive coordinator in the 70s, he played there. So I was his coach in college, and he immediately became one of my bigger boosters in the region. And people don't know it, but we, in 92 or 93 it was, just before he moved banks, we had developed plans for the indoor facility that went all the way to the legislature or the Board of Regents, whatever it went to. It went to Pierre, and to see if we could get it. And we didn't want, we were going to raise the money, not ask for money, but they ended up putting up the Fishback Fine Arts Center instead. That was the decision that they made.
Yeah.
And that forever set us back.
I'll never think of that the same whenever I drive by it now.
Yeah.
And
that's a great thing, too.
Yeah.
But that's what we, had we got that, then we could show recruits, okay, steps are going on.
So instead you went and got the trailers.
Well, we had to, we did that the first year.
Because you could have auditorium space for meetings. They would say education would prioritize over athletics.
The first meeting we end up finally having, because they couldn't get people together, or maybe the second one, we reserved this room, and it's big, only one in the building that's big enough for 100 players. So we get there, and there's about 15 people in there with the exercise physiology teacher. And I said, we've got this. He said, no. He said, if a professor wants a classroom and it's being reserved by a coach, we get it. Oh, so we model out and
so were the trailers your idea?
So then we said, okay, that's it. We're not going to do this. So then first year we got one trailer, second year 2 trailers, and they saved us because we could have our meetings when we wanted, no distractions, no people taking it over right there. It actually was perfect as you walk out the door of the locker room and into it, and so it served its purpose. It really smelled bad after the 15th year of John using it, and so that building came at the right time. The day.
So what have you made of? Because you were making this effort way back in the 90s and you did all you could to turn this into a serious program, win some games, be taken seriously, but you didn't get some of the things you wanted, like an indoor practice facility. But eventually it all came. The support came, the money came. The indoor facility came, and of course, under your successor, under John, who was your defensive coordinator, we've seen what South Dakota State football has become. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been living around here the whole time, have you?
Yeah, we moved from Brookings to here. Yeah.
What have you made of all that? That all these things that you wanted and wanted to have as a coach came to life. It took a long time, obviously. He had several years like yours until they really got it rolling.
Yeah, the first couple of years, like it happens to a lot of people, they struggled a little bit, but once they found their footing, they obviously have done very well. The key for them, and this was to John's credit too, he was able to continue to develop that relationship with Dana Dykehouse, First Premier, and others, big boosters did a good job with that. And he pushed, everybody wanted a new stadium. And John said, that doesn't help us win. What helps us win is 2 things: a facility to recruit on as far as the locker room, training room, meeting room, complex, and an indoor facility. Yeah. The last thing we need is a new stadium. Now, granted, it's great for the fans and all that, but to win, build it and they will come. Well, if we win, we'll be able to get that, and then it'll, and so the first thing that happened was the Dykehouse Center was put up, and a lot of people put money into that. Sanford, I was working for them at that time. We did, a lot of people did, and Dana obviously, and then the indoor facility again supported by Sanford and Dana's group, Denny Sanford. And I always say Sanford, but Sanford Health and Denny Sanford are 2 different things. They obviously are connected at the umbilical cord, but they are, the money came from him privately and Sanford Health, not all from Denny or all from it. And I contended, and Kelby kind of went out on a tough deal, but I really contend if Kelby Krabanoff hadn't been the CEO at the time he was, with the influence he had on Denny Sanford and his background athletics, there wouldn't be very many good programs around here.
Yeah.
I mean, look what they accomplished. I mean, everything took off from high school football. I mean, Sioux Falls high school football wasn't very good. And all of a sudden you start getting facilities and that kind of stuff. The universities all of a sudden were able to put up some facilities that could compete against someone. And without that infusion of funds, I don't think a lot of this would have happened.
What did you do for Sanford once you got out of coaching?
It was great. I worked for Mike Begeman, who you know.
Yeah.
And I was in public relations, and what I did is go to all of the smaller towns around the region and represented Sanford. I put together a council in each one that we would get together once every 3 months and talk about what was happening there, and it was great. It was
Yeah.
a great
So did you play somewhat of a part in trying to help raise the funds that you did?
Well, you know,
kind of as a spokesman for both Sanford and SDSU?
I was in a good position to hook people up, you know. I remember the meeting with Justin Sell and Kevin Lampe was the first discussion that they had. We met at Perkins up north of town, and Kevin represented Sanford, and Justin obviously represented South Dakota State, and that was the first time the two had met. And then the big thing there that eventually happened that made it all go was the fact that we were able to get the sports, the orthopedics, sports medicine contract. Once that was in place, then it all starts to make sense as far as financial support. And
well, yeah. So it's certainly it's no coincidence how it slowly but surely SDSU, because of all this, becomes a powerhouse in the FCS. I remember 2018 and John Stiegelmeier mentioning, he gets 5 or 6 minutes of airtime on ESPN. He rides in on the moped, and they asked him how this turned in from a quote-unquote, they used the words mediocre D2 program, which I'm sure John took issue with and you took issue with. You guys did as good as you could with the resources you had. Into a national powerhouse in Division I, and he was quite honest about it. He said it took a special group of several people, including donors. Money has to be a part of this as well. And then you fast forward to 2022 in Frisco, Texas, and I think there's a picture or two in the book of you and John on the field. You were there.
That was cool.
What did it mean? What did it mean to you to watch them win that national championship?
It just was so special. And the neat thing about John, there's a lot of neat things about John, but he took care of former people associated with the program. And probably the last 5 or 6 years, for example, he'd ask me to come up in fall camp and sit in on all the different position coach meetings, and then he and I would go to lunch and debrief on how it went, what could be doing better, blah blah blah. And I did that for about 5 years, and he always would get me away games. He'd get me a sideline pass, and he took care of me all the time. So he really kept me close to the program, as he did a lot of other people too, and that made a big impact on me.
Do you mind sharing? Did he say anything to you once the clock had struck zero, or at any time around that time to let you know that you may have played a big part in this as well?
He's given me way too much credit.
Okay.
Then and continuing, he just. He doesn't mind sharing it, and I think he overstates the significance we played. But I appreciate it.
I skipped one step. How much of a hand did you have in making sure he was your successor?
When the job opened up, I told Fred that if you're going to stay in-house, John's the guy.
Yeah.
And, getting a job as an assistant isn't that easy. I mean, you've got a track record, you know. It's like winning the second term of being president. And so, you know, if we stay in, you know, I think he's your guy. But I know you'll look all around, and, you know, it's not like we were conference championships year, where it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, right.
But he did the right thing. He checked different people, and I think everybody would agree. Fred made the right decision and hired the right guy.
Hey, we're about to land the plane. I did ask John about you today, and he said he just made sure to know that you were very, very detailed. Great football mind. John said you taught most of his football knowledge. Most of his football knowledge, because there's the late 70s when he first became a coach, and you took him under your wing, and then of course the 90s he was your DC. You were all business in the office, and after recruiting, you would host a recruiting party where you would give out mock awards. So that was fun. I got to see a different side of you.
We tried to have a little fun. I was serious, maybe too serious sometimes.
Yeah.
It was very intense, and whether that is a style of coaching everybody likes or not, that's what worked for me. You got to be what you are, and John had to be what he was, and that's okay, you know. But yeah, we had a little fun. We went hunting out at his place. Kyle, that was fun. They had just a whole bunch of land, and we'd go out pheasant hunting after the season was over. And he had about 10 nephews and nieces, and they'd walk the fields, and then our coaching staff would just sit at the end and post, you know, and then shoot them up. And that's Trent Bulkey, the guy at the GM guy
from the Niners,
from the Niners in Jacksonville. He and I would road hunt after practice on Friday on every home game. We would and Trent still says, he says, with about 20 minutes left in practice, I'd look over and you were checking your watch. You know, so you know, you have to have some fun, but it's a serious job.
But you never looked back, and you know, and your son was how old when you stepped down from SDSU?
He was here. That was 96. He was born in 88 in Madison, so 8 years old.
Okay, and so you basically got to. You wanted to see your son grow up, and
and it worked because he's the greatest kid in the world. He's not a kid anymore.
He's the CEO of a hospital, right?
He's been a CEO of a hospital now. He's 35. He's been a CEO of a hospital for 12 years already.
Okay.
Out in Oregon, out in Montana, and then now in Tomah, Wisconsin.
And I do want you to tell a story of how a Minnesota Vikings game saved his life. You're threading everything through it.
Yeah. We had a great relationship with this Trent Baalke, GM of 49ers, and they were playing the Vikings, and we had gone out to San Francisco to see games, and we had a good relationship going. And anyway, they were playing the Vikings up in Minneapolis, and Derek, our son, had started getting sick at the end of being at home in the summer, before going back to Iowa, where he was getting his master's degree in healthcare administration. And so we met actually at Albert Lee, and we know he had been getting tests and stuff, but we were shocked to see what he looked like. And we got to Minneapolis, and we always, and in this time, we had dinner with Jed York, the owner, Trent, a bunch of the big wigs, you know. And about halfway through it, Derek said, I got to go to bed. And he loved that stuff. He just ate it up. So long story short, after the game, I remember calling or texting Trent, saying, we can't say goodbye. We got to go. We're kidnapping Derek, and we're taking him back to Sioux Falls. And took him back. It took 5 days for them to find out what it was. He had developed a strep infection that had gone to his heart, and it had eaten away his aortic valve. And they were going to, this was a Saturday, they figured it out, and on Saturday, and the cardiologist that first looked at him said, "Yeah, we'll set up surgery for Monday." The surgeon came in and said, "Call in the troops. We're going," and did it 5 hours later, 6 hours later, after a short night's sleep. They did it about 6 in the morning, and he went through it. Unfortunately, the infection had gone to his eyes, gone to other organs, and his liver and kidney were kind of shutting down, and it was pretty bleak at one time. But the neat thing, and it's when you have friends, I called Trent and some other people I knew in sports, and I called John and others, and Trent had about 5 of their best players. Alex Smith, Vernon Brown, their tight end, just the great players. Willis, their best ones, and they made a tape and said, things that supported them and hang in there and get her done. And Derek listened to that, and then one time John came up. It was a Sunday afternoon when it was at his worst, and he sat with us for 2 hours and brought a football and prayed, and he got through it. And we had made a statement to Trent that if he got through it, if you get into the playoffs and Derek gets through this, we're coming. And so he got
Super
through
Bowl.
it. No, this is the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
And then, I'm sorry. And so we get through it. They get into the playoffs. We fly out there for the first game. They end up going to the Super Bowl, and they took us there.
To the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
In New Orleans.
Wow.
Spent the entire time in the team hotel, in their rooms, where the players would come in and relax with their families.
Yeah.
And we had escorts every place we went, security. It was just unbelievable.
Very cool.
So, now he's doing great.
Good.
And so, yeah,
You,
that's how it works.
you've had an all right life. It's been okay for you.
Well, it's been some ups and downs, but just everybody has them, and you get through the downs and enjoy the ups, and it's been a pretty good run.
Hey, thank you so much for sharing about it with us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
This was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it.
Mike Daly. I failed to mention this. This is a good way to close. I was going to open with it. In the words of John Stiegelmeier, Mike Daly changed the face of South Dakota State football. Not too bad.
Nope.
Congratulations.
I'll take that.
Job well done. For video producer Cordell Wright and our friends here at the Gateway Lounge, I'm John Gaskins. Happy hour and cheers.
You need anything else, John?
No, I think I'm good, Greg. I think I'm going to tap out.
All right. Have a good night.